my decision, I'm exporting that decision, right? You're not using it as in universal, because that can't be it, because the fact that we're having this debate proves that it's not objective, right? Like gravity is objective. If I step off a roof, I'm going to fall and hit the ground. It doesn't matter what my opinion is, right? So the fact that we're having this debate means that the subjectivity has to be whether or not I get a say in the morality of the situation. Am I understanding that correctly?
No, because I mean, you can have your own subjective view on things like that, but that doesn't negate whether there's something true or not, or where we should base our morality from, or a standard.
Okay,
so far you haven't been given any standard. Any standard you have given me is just like, well, it's just.
What do you mean by objective then? Because objective means universal. It applies to everything equally.
Yes.
If it were truly objective, I wouldn't be able to argue this point with you. It would be self-apparent.
So are you saying you have no rational mind?
I'm saying something that is objective, purely objective, truly objective, is not up to opinion at all. If I cut my hand, I'm gonna bleed. So are you, right? We're not having that argument. That is objectively true that we have blood inside of us.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's not going anywhere though.
So again, I'm just trying to figure out what you mean by subjective, and I think you mean an external standard. Is that right?
Objective, yes. Through an objective, that it comes from an external standard.
And by subjective, you mean that I'm making the decision myself about morality?
Yes.
Okay. When you have objective external standard, how did you get there? Did you make a subjective decision?
Just because I make a subjective decision on who I'm going to follow, that does not negate that there is a standard, which is the whole point I've been trying to get at, and no one can fucking understand that. There's a standard on what we should hold ourselves to. There has to be that standard. Standard. Well, then, like I've been giving you the examples of like, oh, I don't know if I would turn my son in for this. I don't know if I'll turn my son in for this, but I know that I wouldn't for this and all of this.
I knew exactly what I'd do,
or even that
for almost.
So here's that's what I'm trying to get at: is what is the standard?
Okay, but so you believe that we should have an external standard, but again, that's just your subjective belief. So to have your objective morality, you had to have an subjective value that we should have one. Then you had to have a subjective action that you're going to reference that. And then every single second of the day, you're still making a subjective decision not to renounce it and find a different one. You never get away from the subjectivity of your moral decisions.
Yeah, but that's still negating the standard of what I'm holding myself to.
There's no virtue in having an external standard? It does nothing. What does it do for you? Why is that better?
And what is virtue? Then what's your standard? What's your standard?
I'm asking you why this is better. What is the benefit of having an external standard? Because you keep saying that like it's something good. It's not. I don't think it is. Why are you going to let somebody else tell you what's right and wrong?
What?
Why is it good?
So are we the arbiters of what right and wrong is then?
Well, God gave you free will and decision making, didn't he? So why the fuck would you let somebody else take it away?
If God gave me the free will of decision making, why can't I follow what he gave me to obey by? And like I asked you, like, are you the arbiter of what's good and bad?
Here's what I'm trying to communicate to you. We are.
I understand what you're trying to communicate.
Okay. So are you. So yes, we both have to make our own moral decisions.
Yeah, my moral decision is to follow the morality of that God has given me.
That's fine. You understand, though, that what you're doing, the decision-making process you're engaging in, is every bit as subjective as mine. You're just lying to yourself about it.
Okay.
All right, Angry.
Wait, hold on. Why are you holding? Why is holding yourself to somebody else's standard a good thing? It's not a good thing. I don't care about your morality more than you do. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Yes.
So why the fuck would you let anybody else tell you what your morality should be?
Because I'm holding my standard to a higher being.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
Who told you about the 10 Commandments?
Christ.
No, he fucking
Christ was
didn't.
the one
Don't
who
lie to
came.
me.
Christ was the one who came down and gave.
No, that was Moses. Still,
no. It was given to.
how
Moses
did you learn about the Ten Commandments?
through the Bible?
Which is a book given to you by who?
Given to us by our church fathers,
Given to you by who?
by Christ.
But
What do you mean by who? By who? By what?
Hard.
by a person. He's got a book
Okay,
that was given
who
to him
cares
by a
if it's another
person.
person? What does it have to do with anything?
God gave you your autonomy, your brain, and your senses. So you're gonna give up the moral tools God did give you to take some shit that a dude in a stinky church gave you, and you think that's good moral decision making?
I would agree. I would say yes, it is.
It's irresponsible and it's retarded. That's why you have to keep
Okay.
trying to figure out how to not lie to me while trying to figure out how to lie.
I
to me.
haven't
know
lied at all.
You did.
What
Jesus.
am I lying
Jesus
about?
gave you a book. Jesus handed you a book.
No, you said who gave us the commandments.
No, I asked who gave you the Bible, and you said
Well,
Jesus.
that's why I asked you when I was like wondering, like, what are you talking about? Who gave me the Bible? Like, what do you mean by who gave me the Bible?
Right,
Are you talking
so,
about? Are you talking about
anyways,
how
the
we
fact
got
of the
the
matter
Bible,
is-
or if my dad gave me a Bible when I was like 4
The
years
fact of
old?
the matter is, here, we'll just move past. You have a decision to make between whether or not you're going to do what you think is best or you're going to do what someone else tells you. That is irresponsible. That means you're not taking full responsibility for your
That's
actions or
what
for your
you're doing.
morality.
That's exactly what you're doing.
I'm not outsourcing my
Instead,
morality
you're
to
the
anybody.
arbiter. When did I enforce this? I'm just saying you're doing the exact same thing.
I didn't say I'm
Just
enforcing
you're the-
morality
you're
on
the
people.
arbiter. No,
I don't
said
have the
I
capacity
didn't.
to.
I said I didn't.
No, we are only moral agents. We are not universal morality arbiters. We don't get to make that call. We don't know.
Exactly.
Right. But we are moral agents, which means we do have to decide for ourselves how we operate.
And make that call.
Right.
Okay.
So the only capacity we can operate in morality with is a subjective personal one. You don't get the opportunity to be an arbiter, so you don't even have to worry about it.
I subjectively conform myself to an objective standard.
No, that standard is subjective as well, dude.
Okay.
Are you that scared of being responsible for your own actions that you just like refuse to look at reality for what it is?
How have I ever not been responsible for my own actions?
You're refusing to take accountability and be responsible for the actions. You're saying, no, God will decide for me. You're being
I never said God
submissive.
would
You're being
decide for me.
submissive. You're not using what God gave you. You're not using your free will. You're cucking to a Pharisee. I'm sure Jesus would love that from you.
Yeah.
Anyways,
All right. Thank you so much for that exchange, guys. That was fun. That was really
Can we
fun.
decide who won that one?
Yeah, I guess we will do the judges. Angry Snowman, you go ahead first, bro.
Well, to me, I'm going to have to, against my better judgment, give this to Dusty, just simply because, in my opinion, John did what you normally hear from all general Christians when they're asked tough questions. He basically gave you the typical, no non-direct answer, faith-based answer type thing. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
none of his answers were really direct about things, and he kind of skirted around what Dusty was asking him and acted as if he didn't understand it when I know he understood what he was saying.
No.
That's just how I'm sorry, John, but that's just how I saw it.
If he gave, I don't think he actually. So he did give faith-based answers, but he was trying to make objective, not faith-based claims, right? Like objectivity. If he had just said, "Look, this is my belief and my faith," like I wouldn't have had anything to argue against because what can you do then? This is his belief,
right? It was like when I was
I did make that claim. I did
Well,
make that claim, and I said this. No,
John, I'm just telling you from how I saw it.
statement.
To me, what it reminded me of when you and Dusty were engaging specifically on the religious aspect of the morality, when he was asking you, specific, poignant questions about your faith and where you're getting your morality. It reminded me of when I would ask the preacher at church things like, where did Cain find his wife? And he'd say, well, I don't know the answer. You just got to have faith in that. And what the Bible says is true. That's kind of the impression I got personally.
Oh,
Yeah, so this one I would also have to
no.
give it to Flow State here on this one as well, man. As far as like the domination of the conversation, Flow State did ask more provocatives to pin you down on specifically what you mean by objective within your purview of the book, right? Then you would have to go to preferences, and even with the preferences, the debate before this, Flow State was hammering on that all morality is subjective.
I've had
to
this
that
debate
sort-
a lot of times.
Yeah, and Flow State, he
but
does
it
have
still
experience on this
doesn't
debate
make
as well.
it, right.
But no, but I get you, man. I get you. I would have to give it to Flow State. I did. It's funny. Cleaner's in the chat. I
Yeah.
actually had a similar debate with Cleaner last night on, or was it last night? Yeah, one of those fucking nights. About morality as well. So I mean, I get it, but yeah, I'd have to give it to Flow State on that. But hey, it was fun exchange though.
Oh yeah, it's fun
And
exchange.
thank you for engaging, John. Yeah, you were.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
Sean.
absolutely.
It was a good distance back and forth.
Yeah.
No, but I still would hold myself to a Christian moral standard, and which would
That's
be
okay.
an objective standard to what.
No, yeah. I got
Objective
you.
as an outside of you.
Would you still hold yourself to a Christian standard if God told you that you had to sacrifice one of your children?
That's
The
fallacious.
Abraham story.
I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
Did he,
let's
but did he
let's
allow
really-
that to happen? Did he allow that to happen? And what was the purpose for that?
It does. That isn't what I asked, though. I didn't ask if he allowed it to happen. If God told you you had to sacrifice your son,
Yeah, but
would you follow him because morally that's the just thing to do because God said to do it?
yeah, but you're referring to a historical event, so you would have to take that
But you're
into
trying
context.
you're trying to skirt the question and go straight
I'm
to
not trying to skirt the
end
question.
of the story and what happened that you recall, and not answering what you would do if you were put in that situation.
Yes. If I was put in that situation, yes. If that's what you want to
crazy.
hear.
I would tell God to go fuck off.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think.
well,
Yeah, I think that you're gonna.
and that's how you won the debate, by just telling everyone to fuck off.
Yeah, I just think at that point, if God is telling you to murder your own child, like we were mistaken about who and what God is, this motherfucker don't love me, and heaven's
Yeah,
not going to be good either.
Again,
right?
It's not benevolent at all
but
whatsoever.
again, you're referring to a historical event, so we must take that into the context on what exactly happened and what played out and what
I
was the
dispute
whole
that.
purpose of that. And so now you're appealing yourself
What was
to
the
exactly
purpose
what you're
of
trying
it?
to reject. It was to test his faith and to because didn't God build Israel off of Abraham?
That is such. Why did God have to test his faith? God doesn't know whether or not he's faithful.
Isn't he all knowing?
Well,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Well, when it comes to like Old Testament, God gave us all
Yeah.
free will, so we do have the freedom to reject God Himself, right?
But
Right,
do
but
we
God
really
knows-
have,
We
God
all
really-
have that. That what?
do we really have free will though if God knows everything
Well-
and the outcome of what everything's going to be?
Well, yeah. Well, God all knowing doesn't necessarily mean that He knows what decisions you're going to make ahead of time, right?
That's
he gives us the free will.
that's exactly what a preacher will try and teach you.
Yeah, I know, and I totally understand that, dude. I've been to the churches and they say have faith, and they're not really very good at explaining things on a theology point of view, right? So I totally get
David
you there.
Patrick Harris. There was just amazing debate, amazing debate
Amazing.
on that on the whatever podcast just yesterday with David Patrick Harry and some other chick.
I
where
saw
he
that he
pointed
did a
out a
debate.
lot of it.
I didn't watch it, but
Yeah,
I
and
saw that it.
they go into that subject, and to be honest with you, I'm really not that versed within that to just start quoting off a bunch of stuff for you for all that. But that was an amazing debate to go watch, and it actually gives all the answers to those exact same questions.
Hey, and Kitty makes a good point. She said Christians don't believe in free will; they believe in God's will.
That's incorrect.
That I remember hearing God's
Well,
will be done a lot when I was in
No,
church.
yeah, they do believe in God's will, but I'm talking about like free will as in the freedom to reject God. As here in the nation, you have the freedom to reject Him. We see this time and time again, even the Old
Do
Testament.
you
et cetera.
though?
Yeah,
Because there's
plenty
a
of
pretty
proof on it,
stiff
bro.
punishment.
I think
There's a pretty
you're a
stiff
very good
punishment.
subject for it.
Do you
Yeah,
do you think that we have the? Does the law give us the free will to murder?
Well, of course, the law is going to punish us for murdering, but however, you still have the free will to murder. It's just the
Right,
punishment
because
afterwards, right?
but the
So
law takes it away from us as much as
there's
possible.
yeah, but there's punishment on there, and I totally get you there. This is the same concept here: is that God has given us free will to the point where us as human beings don't have all the answers, right? We're free to reject God if we choose to do so. That's the point there. So when you say God's all knowing is going to know that is in other words, your argument's about predetermination, right? I don't believe in that. Where God has everything. If once you're born, you're already set to either go to hell or heaven. That's ridiculous. But based off the free will concept, you have the free will to reject them.
If I stick a gun barrel in your crotch and say, "Give me your wallet," or I'm blowing your dick off, am I giving you free will?
No, you're forcing me.
Correct. So is God giving us free will if he says,
yes,
you can
he's
reject
giving
me,
us
but
free
I'm gonna...
will, and he's saying that you have the free will to reject me. That's what it is. Yes, there's punishments just like anything else.
And then I'll torture you for all eternity.
Well, then with that preference alone, wouldn't that mean that that morality is literally subjective?
From the preference of
if you have free will, then that means you have the will to be subjective towards what your morality is.
Yeah, sure, of course. Yeah, and you see that in today's society, of course.
But that's a huge difference. Whether you have the decision to make whether or not you hold yourselves to an objective standard.
You should say you
that's
have an
completely different.
You should say you have an external moral structure, not an objective one, because objective implies a whole different thing than what you're really saying, which is I outsource my morals.
Yeah, but you still haven't been able to give me any kind of standard for how you would hold your own self, where I can at least give you standards.
I don't have to. That's not the prompt. I could.
No, that was the whole reason why I was talking to that guy and why you came up here to debate.
I don't know why you were talking to that guy. I just heard your claim.
I kept asking him, by what standard are you holding yourself? By what standard? That's why I've been pushing that. By what standard?
Really quick, John. Ticky Tack joined the panel. What's up, dude? What's your thoughts on
Ticky Tack?
Hey, what's up?
Oh,
yeah, I think the thoughts that I have right now on this subject is, I guess I would just ask a general question. If God is the creator of everything, would he also be the creator of an objective moral standard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. If he created everything, and if there is one, then yes, he would be.
And he created the brain as well. So you have the freedom, or your brain as well, that's being created by God, has these thoughts that where you can have these debates, subjective, etc. Right? But God did create that brain. He created you. If we were to believe that God does exist, right?
Yeah. So and then an objective, based off a Christian paradigm, an objective moral standard does exist. But I do agree with Dusty in that we are subjective beings, and we cannot escape that. So how we interpret the morals, how we apply the morals, and how we react within the world, it is still going to come down to subjectivity.
If the entire Christian paradigm is taken as true, then yes, in that case, it would be objective morality. But as far as how we interface with it, it doesn't change anything. It just means that, well, we'll find out if we did. We'll figure it out later.
We'll find out when we get there.
The claim that in that system it would be objective is actually there's no utility in it.
Yeah, it's like I do see the flaw in the idea that you were trying to press John on, okay, well, you get these commandments from Jesus, but how do you get it? Well, it's through the Bible, which was created by man. It's like no matter how deep in the chain that you go, there's always the interaction of man, essentially translating what quote unquote Jesus has said. So it brings a level of subjectivity.
Well, it brings fallibility to it because man is fallible, where they claim God is infallible.
Yeah,
right. But I think that from where I'm sitting, like, it doesn't matter what you do, you still are the one making the decision, right? You still make that choice. There's no getting away from that.
Yeah, and I would even go into a biblical sense and say that everybody falls short of sin, and that's part of the reason why we have the subjective morality, is because part of that sin is making the decision to go against the objective moral standard. And that exists in everybody, so it's inescapable.
And that's one of the concept of everybody being a sinner and needing saved, or original sin. That entire concept to me is blasphemous. That's saying that because God created everything, including us. And even in Genesis, it said, and God said it was good, right? So God created it. God's perfect. God created us. God was happy with it. We're created in his image, but we're all flawed. And we need... So how's this work?
Well, forging brings up a good thought too, man. He said, or it could be a simpler thing where is the Bible the only reason why you don't kill, grape, or assault people? And if that's the case, is there a bigger issue there? Because the only thing stopping you from doing these atrocities is a book.
Yeah, and so that's another thing. I don't believe that's the reason at all. Why should we care about the book? You know, I think that the reality is that moral behavior is pragmatic. It's in your self-interest to be cooperative with people. Now there's like very short-term payoffs for being immoral, but your long-term best survival strategy is to behave morally with people.
Okay, there you go, guys. I gotta end the stream already. We're already hitting 3 hours, 4 o'clock over here, and I got my schedule going after this stream. But thanks so much for the panelists to pop in, man. I really appreciate
That's cool,
it.
man.
I'm gonna give you all last
Good luck,
words
guys.
though, last thoughts before we kill out. We'll start with John. We'll go down the line.
Yeah, thanks for having me up, Jake, and all that. And thanks, Flow State. That was fun.
Hey, thank you.
Or Dusty. Sorry, you keep
okay,
changing your
either
name
way.
every time I see you.
Well, I had to make the new channel because of monetization, but thank you for engaging.
Okay.
I recognize that you'd seen me debate before, and I didn't. So I recognize that you recognized that there's an experience difference here, and you stuck with it anyways, and I appreciate that.
Oh, there's a huge experience. I'm a newbie at this stuff, but thanks
Yeah,
a lot.
so-
I still subjectively hold myself to my objective standards, and all of you guys have a wonderful day.
All right, have a good one, John. Go ahead, Flow State.
No, thanks for having me up. It was great. Thanks for the news reporting, Snowman, and this has been fun.
For sure.
And salute to the chat.
Salute to the chat, man. Salute to the chat. Angry Snowman, you got it.
Hey, I appreciate you for having me up, Jake. It's always a pleasure hopping up here and chopping it up and having discussions with you.
Yeah.
Don't do drugs. That's all I got.
Don't
That's
get
a great
caught with them.
message. That's some great messaging, bro. Ticky tack.
I was ready to play the moral nihilist card on this entire panel before you decide to end
Yeah,
it.
I'm sorry, bro. Like I actually extended the show an hour for John and Flow State and everything like that. So that's why. And so
Bad,
you
bro.
came
My
in
bad.
a bit late on that one. No, it was
it's all
good.
good.
I'm glad I did.
Yeah, Dusty, I may jump on one of your panels here shortly and re-extend this conversation
Yes.
because I think
Yeah,
it's
it was
you
actually a
subscribe
good
to the
one.
new channel?
the Powder Dusty, or
Yeah, yeah.
are you saying a new channel?
No, that one. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Powder
yeah.
Dusty. Okay. Well, yeah. There's
Am I
There's
still
a
grounded
potential-
from your channel?
were you ever grounded?
Yeah.
I think I just yelled at you.
No, you grounded me.
Oh well, yeah, you're ungrounded.
There you go. You got the confirmation. You got the confirmation, bro.
There's a pretty decent chance I might go live again in a few hours.
Okay,
So-
sounds
Okay,
good.
perfect.
All right,
Perfect.
thanks.
All right,
Yeah,
anytime,
see you
Flo, and
later.
you're always welcomed. All you guys are always welcome, bro. So I really appreciate Flo. I'm glad Flow State comment because I know Flow State loves to argue. So I was just like, great, Flow State's on here so we can get some back and forth. So
He's
I really
a passive
appreciate that.
aggressive narcissist, man. He can't help himself.
I think I'm directly aggressive and psychopathic. Thank you.
Yeah,
Neutral.
At least he confirms that information.
Yep. Mutual.
All right, guys. Well, I'll catch you guys later, man. Have a good rest of the day. All right.
Who's this?
See you.